Preparing for a hurricane, that's what we're going to talk about here. And really, it's just making sure that you have your disaster kit in place. More often than not, we don't have mandatory evacuation issued in the city. Katrina and Gustav were really the last times that we had that occur. So make sure that you have basic survival needs. Make sure that you have your first aid kit. All the medicine, all the prescription medicine that you need, and have about a 2 week supply of that medicine ahead of time, because as you know, pharmacies may not be open. You may not be able to get the supplies that you need, the drugs and the treatments that you need. So make sure that you have that. And also, if there is the need to leave the city, make sure and leave the state even, make sure that you have all of your Social Security, disability payments, your Medicare or Medicaid. Make sure that that's all updated, and that you have all that paperwork with you, so that if you do have to go to another state, they'll have that information and be able to get you the benefits that you deserve. Some of the other things too, if you have pets, make sure that you not only have food and water for yourself, make sure that you have food and water for your pets, because a lot of times you're gonna have to take them with you, and you're gonna have to find shelters that are pet friendly and things like that. So think about those things as you prepare for hurricane season. Some other supplies: chargers, batteries, having a radio. I got some of the examples there on the table. You can see battery operated radios, because the internet may not be working, TV may not be working. Have important documents, again, like I talked about, things like your Medicaid, your Medicare card, insurance, proof of ownership, things like that, and the go bag. So those would be things that you would put inside, basically like a backpack. That you could take with you very easily, transport if you do have to evacuate to a shelter. Here's some of the basics to include, and some of these are going to be included in the handouts that they're going to give you guys at the end of this. 3 to 5 days of food and water for each individual person in your household. A can opener, because if you have non-perishable items like those right there, you're going to need a can opener that's not electric. Cleaning supplies, those are really vital, especially if you have any type of water intrusion into your house or anything like that, and it can help clean up, and especially if you had some sewer overflow or anything. Cell phones with the charger. I know they have inverters, but those are really expensive, and most of us don't have those. I don't have that. The battery-powered radio is huge. That's a great way to maintain information. AM stations like WWL, they're usually going to stay on the air during the storm. After the storm, and provide all that information that you need to get from the state and local authorities. Make sure you have a flashlight. That's huge, because you're going to lose power more than likely. Extra batteries to make sure that the flashlights and the battery-powered radios operate. Your important documents, like I said, the first aid kit. Also really vital is a whistle. A whistle actually helps, especially if there's anything going on that doesn't seem right. Something going on in the neighborhood and you're like, I don't know about that. If you don't feel safe, then the whistle can help attract attention, maybe from police or National Guard or somebody like that that's in town to help out. Tools to shut off the utilities. That's also huge. Tools to shut off your water, shut off your gas, things like that, especially if, there has been damage to your house. Cash is king after a hurricane. ATMs aren't going to be working. Credit cards aren't going to be working. We all know that. So make sure that you have some cash on hand, because that's going to be the best way to get items and procure stuff. Now we're going to talk about, because we know a lot of people are on tight budgets right now, especially with, inflation and everything else that's been going on. Prices have been going up like crazy. So some of these things are things that you can pick up at like your local dollar store. Some canned or dried foods like the pork and beans I got there. I got a can of tuna. Basic things, but it keeps you fed. The flashlight, the batteries, cleaning supplies, just bandages, and the whistle. You can get all of those at like a Family Dollar or Dollar Tree, something like that. And they're not going to be too expensive, and that at least gives you a starter kit to kind of keep yourself safe if you are sheltering in place. And there's also things that you can think about in your house already that you have, like whatever you have some gallon jugs or 2 liter bottles, save them, clean them up with bleach, and then fill them with water, and then you have that water already on hand. And we're going to have on the next slide here kind of talking about how you can calculate how much water you actually need for each person for each day. When you're grocery shopping, keep in mind how long the food lasts. Focus on those non-perishable food items during hurricane season. You know, I understand we all want to, have fruits and vegetables if we can get them, maybe some meat, but those are going to be perishable. And, if we lose power, they're not going to keep. So really stock up on those canned good items, on those boxed food items, things like that. Crackers, chips, and like pork and beans or, red beans, something like that to keep yourself going. And then also assemble that first aid kit throughout the hurricane season here. Get those bandages, the antiseptic, any other materials that you have on hand. You don't have to go buy a fancy first aid kit, from Walmart or somewhere like that. That's going to cost a lot of money. You can just kind of assemble it all together, and just put it like in a Ziploc bag or something like that. And then you'd have some of the basics that you need to stay safe. And also, you don't really need to buy any special cleaning supplies. Just use the cleaning supplies that you have on hand already. And if you are running low, then now's the time to go out and get that stuff before we have the storms really start to fire up. Because climatologically, the most likely time for us to have hurricanes in this area is August and September. That's when the majority of our hurricanes happen. So we do have a little bit of time here in June and into July to really prepare and get ready for the if we do have a storm headed our way later this year. Prepare early. Avoid the lines. We all know all of a sudden there's a hurricane that's forecast to come into our area, and that's when everybody goes to the store. And the lines are crazy and the shelves are empty. And we've all seen that. So, now or in the days leading up to the storm, like if it looks like maybe something's going to be coming in 7 or 8 days, that's when you can go out to the store, maybe beat the rush and pick up on some of those things that you think you might need. Like if you wanted to get some bread or something like that, because those are going to be things that go really fast. Make sure you have what you need by preparing your disaster supply kit well ahead of time. That's what we're really emphasizing, is getting out there right now and getting some of those things that you need, like I talked about before, the batteries, the flashlights, the canned goods and things like that. Get them now, because they're gonna be there, and then you don't have to worry about that. So now we're gonna talk about how much water do you need, and this is really, really important because, as we know, and this happened after Ida, the water, it's not going to be safe to drink. There's going to be boil advisories because the power's gone out, something's gone, the water system is failing. Same thing after Katrina. It took a long time to get the water system back on in a lot of the city. You should have 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days. So it's a pretty simple calculation here. So 1 gallon times 4 times 3 days equals 12 gallons of water in your supply kit. So have those gallon jugs, like I said, when you go buy milk or something like that. Save it up, clean it out with bleach, and then put some fresh water in there, and just have it stored away somewhere. And then you have that water in place, and you're good to go for the next storm that rolls through. Also, like I talked about, don't forget your pets. We all love our pets. I love my dog. He's our baby, and so we want to make sure that he's safe. And I'm sure you all are the same way. Your pet survival really does depend on your planning. So assemble an animal emergency supply kit. Make sure that you have enough food on hand and enough water on hand for them as well, so that they can survive the storm. And if you need to evacuate, like I talked about, have that plan for taking your pet. Talk to your local officials and ask them, hey, where are the shelters that do accept pets? Because not all of them do. Or if you have the means to get a hotel somewhere, there's certain hotels that take pets and there's certain hotels that don't take pets, and so that's something else that you can research, and make a backup plan in case you can't care for your pet for yourself. If you're not allowed to take him, or if you can't take it, then make sure that you have neighbors or friends or relatives that could be able to take care of the pet in your stead while you're evacuated or unable to take care of it. And then also, this is tied in, determining your shelter. If you're staying home, this is critical. If you're staying in your home, make sure that you have a small interior room that you can ride the storm out in, because the wind could rip your roof off. It could blow out your windows. You don't want to be in an area that's exposed. We treat this just like we tell you when there's a tornado, because the hurricane winds are, especially if it's a category 3 or stronger, are going to be equivalent to a tornado winds. And so you could have structural damage to your house. But if you get into a small interior room, like a closet or a bathroom that doesn't have a window, those are good places to ride out the hurricane until the threat passes, because you're putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And that's what we really want to keep you safe. And also on the lowest floor. That's critical too, because if you're on in a two-story building, that upper level is going to be more prone to the wind and could have more damage. Then if you do have to evacuate, like let's say you sheltered in place and then, the city's not really habitable, there's no power, there's no water or anything like that, and they're basically encouraging people to evacuate. Identify which routes you should take, and then talk about, is there maybe a friend's home or family member's home that lives outside of the area that you could stay with? Reach out to your network of people that you have outside New Orleans. And if you can't afford it, look at hotels outside of the area. But I know that's really expensive. It can add up, and not everybody has the money to do that. And also sign up for evacuation assistance. That's where you can talk with like NOLA Ready, through the New Orleans Emergency Management Agency to kind of see what type of assistance they may have to help with, evacuations. And again, don't forget your pets. Like I said, a lot of the shelters do not take pets. So make sure you know which ones do. This is also really important, and it ties in again with trying to figure out what you're going to do after the storm, really. And that is having a family communication plan. Like, who are you going to call? Like, let's say that you do have damage to your home's not habitable and stuff like that. Make a list of really important numbers and identify some out of town friend or family member that everyone can contact in an emergency, and kind of be that go-to person to help you evacuate safely and get to a safe place, so that you can begin to rebuild your lives. Select that safe meeting place to reunite after the emergency, after the disaster, and choose one place that's kind of closer to New Orleans, and then maybe choose another place that's a little farther away if possible. So, like I said, reach out to your network, because, like, let's say you may have family in Baton Rouge. Well, depending on the track of the storm, Baton Rouge may be just as impacted. They may not have power and other things like that. It may be damage to those homes. So maybe reach out to somebody that you might know, like in Lafayette or in Mobile or Houston or somewhere like that, if you have family or friends that are in those areas, and be like, hey, do you mind being my emergency contact and being willing to take us in for a little bit? I know that's what we've done. So with my family, we have. I'm from Illinois originally, so basically send everybody up to Central Illinois, and that's where we ride out or they ride out at my parents' house. I had to stay behind. I live in the office, but that's okay. That's part of the job. And then the biggest thing is to write down that plan and give the copies to all the family members and store it in your cell phone and review it regularly to make sure that everything's updated, because like if people move, or anything like that, then, they may not be a good point of contact anymore. So make sure you review that regularly. Just have a written plan and communicate with everybody so that you know what you're going to do when that storm hits, where you're going to evacuate to, and that'll really help ease the stress that you would have after the storm if you don't really know, okay, where am I going to go? What's going to happen? If you have this plan in place, that's going to help you be better prepared, reduce your stress levels, and make you feel like you have control of the situation more, than relying on other people that you may not know and you may not trust. Finally, this also ties in, it's a community. We all have to look out for each other. We all have that same experience. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. If there's a hurricane like a Katrina level that comes through, everybody's going to be impacted. So help your neighbors. Share that latest hurricane forecast information with your neighbors, your friends, your family. Make sure they know about those shelters, the evacuation orders, the evacuation routes. You can get all that, like I said, from NOLA Ready. They'll have all that information there, or from GOSEP, the state agency. They'll have all of that on what you guys need to do based on the latest information that we're providing to those emergency managers.
We're going to talk about saving for emergencies. We all know that we live in Louisiana. Sometimes we have to run, right? And that is an unexpected event. But you want to make sure when you are saving for emergency that you are thinking about saving for temporary housing. Where am I going? Am I going to a shelter, going to a family member home, or am I going to a hotel? So you want to make sure that you are thinking about that when you're saving as well. Car repairs. We have flat tires. We need oil change. We have several different things with our car when we are evacuating, right? Because sometimes anyone evacuated for Katrina, I know it took me 9 hours to get to Mississippi, right? So we have to think about those car repairs as well. We were thinking about saving and deductibles. We have to keep that in mind, especially our homeowners. We have to keep that in mind if we have repairs that needs to be done. We have to think about the deductibles that we have to save for, right? Those deductibles can sometimes hinder us from moving forward with our repairs. So we want to make sure that we keep that in mind when we're saving for emergencies. Saving can help bridge the gap between expenses and income disruptions. Again, I'm gonna go back to Hurricane Katrina because I think most of us experienced that income, that lost the income, right? We couldn't go back to work. Some of our jobs was no longer there, right? So we have to think about saving for that as well, because again, we still have our survival things that we need. We still need food, we still need water, we still need shelter. So you have to think about that saving for that income, when the income stops, if it stops. Financial preparedness reduce stress and allow you to focus on recovery. It is very important that we save because again, when we are stressed out about how we're going to pay for this, how we're going to pay for that, it can lead to other things, right? We know that stress can lead to other things, health issues, where it's hard for us to focus on getting those repairs done. It's hard for us to focus on finding our next level. And it's hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel when we are stressed out about other things. Even if you feel like it's impossible to save. I say this all the time when I'm doing financial literacy. I'm a true believer. A little go a long way as long as you stay consistent. So this month I can only save $25. That's $25 more in my savings than I had. So don't think I only can save this amount this month. It's not worth it. It's all worth it. Okay. Saving for a disaster on a limited budget. I just said it. Every dollar counts. Set small, achievable saving goal. Find out what is your saving limit. If I start saving and this month I say I can save $25. Next month, challenge yourself. Add additional $10 to it. And the following month, challenge yourself and add additional $10 to it until you get to your saving limit. And your saving limit, what I mean by that is the amount that you can afford to put aside each month without having to go back into it. That is your saving limit. Don't start out big and you have to go into it and now it discourages you because you have to go into it. Start out small and challenge yourself to increase that amount each month or each week, depending on how you get paid or how determined you are to do it. Identify areas you can cut back on spending, eating out, entertainment, or if you have a problem like me, every time Macy send a text message about a friend and family sale, sometimes you may have to say no to it, right? I'm just telling my own story sometimes. Sometimes you may have to say no to it because now you have identified what are you saving towards. So sometimes saving, you do have to cut back a little. You do. You have to identify your wasteful spending and put that money towards saving. Consider using automatic transfer to build your savings. It helps. Out of sight, out of mind. It takes the responsibility off of you because we all have been there. When I get paid, I'm going to put $50 in my savings, right? We go grocery shopping, pay our bills, go to Macy's because we got that text message. And then we say, oh, I'll do a next pay period. Next pay period come about, same routine. We don't do it. And now we are a true definition of insanity, right? So to keep that, let's go ahead and set it up automatic. You can do that with your payroll. You can do it with your bank, your financial institution. Out of sight, out of mind, takes the responsibility off of you. And now you know that saving is getting done. Most important things to save for, of course, emergency shelter. We have to keep that in mind when we're saving. Even if we're going to a relative house or a family or a friend house, we want to consider, probably being able to help. So you want to think about that when you're saving. Food and water, of course, because that is a need, right? We need that to survive. So you want to make sure that you're saving for your food, your water, transportation, repairs. Like we said before, that 9-hour ride was torture for me. Medical bills, because again, we know unexpected things can happen. So you may have those medical bills that you want to save for, and deductible for your insurance. You don't want that to be a hindrance to you when it's time to reveal or repair. Steps to take during a disaster to save money. You want to make sure you document your damage. I will go a step ahead of that, especially for my homeowners. Even if you have renter's insurance, you can do a video audit. We all have smartphones. Let's use them, right? You can do a video audit with your phone, and you can do inventory on your home. When you're doing these video audits, I encourage you to get serial numbers, make and model. Because if you lose these things, your insurance company may require proof of what you are claiming that you lost. And who wants to play the mind game when you're already displaced, misplaced, and already been through a disaster? Who wants to play that game or try to remember everything that you had in your home? Focus on the necessities only. So my friends, don't worry about those text messages, about those sales, okay? Because right now, that is not a necessity. You want to focus on what is needed when you're thinking about the saving. And contact your creditors. This is very important. You want to contact your creditors if you are in a natural disaster. Please don't have the mindset they'll get it when I get it. And don't have the mindset they watch the news, they see it as a natural disaster. That's not true. You want to contact your lenders when you have been a victim of a natural disaster, because most of your lenders will give you a payment alternative. And those payment alternatives will help you and won't hinder your credit that you work so hard to build. Okay? And utilize your community resources, utilize your shelter, utilize your food bank. Because again, if you can utilize those, that is helping you save money. That's less money you have to pull out of your savings or out of your pocket to pay for. And by being financially prepared, you can definitely weather the storm. Keep that in mind. Being financially prepared, again, it relieves that stress. You can now focus on how do I rebuild? What's my first step? And now focus on how am I going to pay for this? Do I have enough to cover this? So it can definitely help in several different ways by being financially prepared.
We have one challenge for you guys, and you guys you're lucky in the sense of this is only happening at this workshop. We have the opportunity to give you guys some additional food as well, if you would like it, if you choose. Some bread and some coffee and some popcorn. But if that is something that you guys would like to take home with you, here's our challenge to you. Take it with you, but save that money. Save that money that you would have spent potentially on these groceries, and save that for this disaster. And we hope that this information was helpful for you guys. Thank you guys again for being here.
What'd you learn new today, Nan?
Oh, I learned about the finances.
And what did you learn about finances?
Because I don't usually just keep my money, cash, and everything. So now I know I need to really keep a lot of cash on with me.
Saving was the most important thing to me.